Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today I am going to deliver a lesson for class 12th, subject zoology. My today's topic is linkage, which is related to your chapter Principle of Inheritance and Variation. Linkage is the tendency of the genes present on the same chromosome to stay together during hereditary transmission. Now, first of all, we must understand what are genes. Now, genes actually are the basic physical unit of inheritance which are found on chromosomes and composed of DNA or RNA nucleotides. These genes are passed from parents to the offsprings and contain the necessary information needed to specify different phenotypic or genotypic traits or characters. Now, these genes, as already said, are located on the chromosomes, and when these genes are located on the same chromosome, when the two genes are located on the same chromosome, such genes are called as linked genes, and the degree of intensity with which two genes are linked is called the linkage value. This linkage value obviously depends upon the distance between the two linked genes. Now, linkage is an exception to law of independent assortment proposed by George J. Mendel while experimenting on the inheritance of two genes, that is dihybrid cross. Now, what led to the discovery of linkage? Linkage was first discovered by Bateson and Punnett in 1966, and the term linkage was coined by Morgan in 1910, who clearly proved and defined linkage on the basis of breeding experiments in fruit fly, or called as Drosophila melanogaster. Actually, the linkage describes the way in which the two genes that are located close to each other on a chromosome are often inherited together. These observations led to the concept of gene linkage, which actually describes how two genes that are clearly associated on the same chromosome are frequently inherited together. And in 1911, Morgan and Castor together proposed a theory known as chromosomal theory of linkage. The various postulates of this theory are: number one, that the linked genes occur in the same chromosome. Number second postulate was that the linked genes lie in a linear sequence in the chromosome. As you can see in this sketch, these are the chromosomes, and these are the genes in linear sequence, such as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. These are the genes. They are called as linked genes because they are present on the same chromosome, as shown in this sketch. Now, the third postulate of this chromosomal theory of linkage was that there is always a tendency to maintain the parental combination of genes except for occasional crossing over. And the last point of this theory was that the strength of linkage between the two genes is inversely proportional to the distance between the two. That means if the two genes are closely linked or associated with each other, such as the gene A and B in this sketch, there is a very less or least chance of these genes to get separated at the time of crossing over. However, the genes which are distinctly located on the same chromosome from each other, such as the gene A and gene H or gene G, these are distinctly located from the gene A, and these genes, gene H or gene J, have a very high chance of getting separated at the time of crossing over, as you can see in this sketch. Here is the gene A, B, C, D, E, F and G, H. These genes G, H, which are distinctly located from the gene A and B, can separate at the time of crossing over. Thus, genes which are closely associated, for example gene A and B, are linked on the same chromosome, have negligible chance to get separated during the crossing over and thus inherit together, while as those genes such as gene A and gene H, which are distinctly located from each other on the same chromosome, have a very high chance to get separated during the crossing over. Now you can understand that linkage between the two genes is actually inversely proportional to the distance between the two genes. That is, two linked genes show higher frequency of crossing over if the distance between them is higher, and similarly they show lower frequency of crossing over if the distance between them is small, and thus these closely associated or linked genes stay linked together generations after generations. Now this was all about today. In our next topic we will discuss about the various types of linkage. Until then, goodbye.